Hi, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you doing? You look
I'm
fabulous.
doing good. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you here and to introduce you to our Ketish crew. Um, your story and your journey is just it's been so inspiring to me, and it's you've been such an important part of my life, and so I think that sharing your journey and your experiences could really help the women in our community. So for those that don't know, this is Mary Honeybee Morrison, and she is a New York Times bestselling author. She is a playwright, a public speaker, and just an unapologetically fierce supporter of women. And you've been so special in my life and just such a role model and a constant supporter of mine. And I'm just really grateful that you would come on and be vulnerable with us and share your journey with us. And about 2 years ago, I think it was, you were diagnosed with breast
Yes,
cancer.
I
Um,
was.
and I know it really shook up our world. And so I'd be really grateful just if you could share a bit more about your breast cancer journey from diagnosis to where you are now.
I'd be happy to. And thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, I just want a lot of women to know quite a few things about the journey with breast cancer for me. One, in 2017, I actually had a breast augmentation. Now, before the breast augmentation, I'll be honest, I did not get a mammogram because I had one done like prior when I was thinking about having an augmentation done. And I think that being number one, I would say for women, if you're even thinking about having a breast augmentation, definitely get your mammogram first. Did I have breast cancer in 2017? I don't know. So it will forever be one of those things for me that was not answered. But fast forward, now we're into 2018 and it's time for a mammogram. And I still did not go and get it. I'm like, oh my God. Well, let me not say I didn't get it. I got it. And then they said, oh my gosh, we just want to follow up. We want to do this. Okay, we want to do a biopsy. Well, I was really ignorant to the process of a biopsy. I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to hurt. They're going to take a plug out of these new boobs that I got that just got hiked up. Right. And so I'm not a vain person, Emaan. I'm really not like that. But I think that I could have done so many things differently and I didn't. So fast forward, now it's 2019, it's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is coming, it was in September. September is my birthday month. I was like, I got to get this done. So it is time. Let me go and get it done. So they did the mammogram, same thing. Oh my God, we need a biopsy, same exact spot on the inner side, which is rare for it to be on the inner side. The only thing I really thank God for is that it was stage one.
Mm.
It could have been so much worse for me, but it was stage one. And I feel like when I found out, that was probably the hardest, is just hearing the lady say, it's confirmed you have cancer. It's like, oh my God, like, okay,
Mm.
So, of course, the first person I called is my son and I let him know, and we cry on the phone together because it was a big deal. And then after that, it's like, okay, this is your reality. Now
Mm.
you must move forward. So, in moving forward, I decided to have a double mastectomy. And the reason why I decided is because I've heard stories of women not getting a double and it coming back on the other side. I was like, God, that's not something I'm willing to take a chance with. I don't want to deal with it. And then it would just feel very abnormal for me to have one and not the other, but that's a very personal choice for every woman. And I just
Is that
decided to.
Is
Yes.
that something that the doctors recommended to you, or is that something that you personally took it upon yourself to elect to have the mastectomy?
That's a really good question. So thank you for asking that. I actually asked the doctor, can I have a double? And he said yes. So I actually asked for that because again, I was afraid. I was afraid that if I don't, what's going to happen moving forward? And how are you going to match this boob to that boob? I had so many questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what, after you chose to have the surgery, what was that process like?
That process for me happened January of 2020. So at the top of COVID, before everything shut down, I was very blessed. When I tell you every appointment, every situation, it's like my sisters came and we all have the last name Morrison. So the doctor say, Mary Morrison, and about 5 people stand up, and he was like, wow, like, who's Mary? It's like, which one is the real Mary Morrison? It's like, yeah. So I had so much love and support the day that we were at the hospital. I kid you not, about 25 people were there, friends, family. And, COVID, you couldn't do that. You had to go it alone. And so in that way, I felt really, really blessed to have like family. You called and checked on me, and I so appreciate, the love for that, because everything really, really matters when you're going through breast cancer, even if it's just a phone call to say, how you doing? And you did that for me. So thank you.
Of course, of course. I wish I could have done more, but COVID just.
You were great. You were great. Thank you.
COVID just made things rough. And what was that like? So you had the surgery, and what were the next steps? Because you obviously had to go through further treatment.
I did. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so recovering from the double mastectomy. Okay, like I said, I had so many people here. It was wonderful. And then the oncologist, Dr. Fielder, was like, okay, I'm going to recommend chemo. And I was like, oh my God, like for real. So now it's March. And my very first appointment, my son and one of my very best friends who was there with me the whole time, Sherry, they went with me to my first chemo appointment. They stayed with me. They were in a room with me, all of that. And by appointment number 2, nobody could go in with me. I mean, like nobody could go in with me. So my son took me to every appointment, but he couldn't go in with me. Just like, okay, he had to sit outside, wait. And then the thing about chemo, I had to change my clothes. Like I would change my clothes after chemo because chemo is very toxic. Like literally when somebody has chemo, you're not supposed to hug them if they're sweating. You can't eat off the same dishes. You're supposed to wash the fork like 3 times at least, hot water. You can't, there's so many things you cannot do with a person who is going through chemo because it's so toxic. It could actually affect the person who's caring for you. So I learned a lot. And then fast forward, radiation. I said, you know what? I had stage 1B. Y'all treat me like, oh my, well, we just want to make sure, Miss Morrison. I said, okay, well, I overlooked some stuff in the beginning. Let's not be that same girl that overlooked something else. So I had 3 consultations for radiation with 3 different doctors because everything I was reading said I didn't need it. Everything they were saying told me I did. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because I don't want to look back and say I didn't do it and it came back. So with radiation, I have a great plastic surgeon who's going to in January take care of putting my implants in. But he was saying if you get radiation, which I did on this side, on my right side, he said, you have to do a totally different procedure because it kills the cells and some doctors will just go in and put the implants in. He said, I refuse. I'm not going to do that with you. I don't do it with any of my patients. And so now they have to take the muscle from the back and move it to the front just to get fresh blood tissue flowing and everything. So radiation was crazy. My skin did not peel. They couldn't believe it. They were like, my last treatment, which was treatment number 25, was like the first in terms of how I looked, except for it was darker. I used lots of aloe, lots of Neosporin. I'm just saying this in case it helps somebody that may be listening to your interview with me. And I don't wear a prosthetic, never have. I have them. They feel amazing. But I just opted not to wear it because, and I'll tell you why I did that. I only did it because I felt like so many women go through breast cancer. And if I was one of those women that tried to hide it, right? I want people to see that I went through this. And if more people saw the number of women that was going through, you'd be like, oh my God, like, oh my God. Like, but a lot of guys have no idea and people don't have any idea. So, and I'm cool with me. You know, I'm flat chested like a third grader for another 3 months, but I'll be okay. I've never worn one the whole 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, and I think what you said is right, that sometimes the awareness is not there, or we know that so many women go through it, but seeing it in someone that you know, or seeing someone that you're close to, or seeing someone that you used to know, and how their body may have changed because of it, it makes it more real. And
Exactly.
yeah, it might help women just be more careful or be more mindful or take action sooner than if they had it, or if otherwise. So I think that's very brave of you, and I think it's super admirable of just like your confidence. And yeah, I mean, you've always been a very confident woman, a very sure woman, but how do you feel cancer and this experience, how do you feel it has changed you, or has it changed you? What do you think has been like your biggest self-discovery going through this?
I feel like it definitely changed me. And I will say for the better, it has, because what I realized was that, I write adult novels. I'm all about female empowerment, and some people would look at it like, oh my God, you write these adult novels and now you have breast cancer, and how are you going to deal with that? I deal with it because I love myself. And I took a picture in my swimsuit after the procedure was done, and I put it on Facebook because I feel like God made me the messenger, because I don't mind delivering the message. He knew that I would be one of many women that wouldn't hide this, that wouldn't feel embarrassed, that wouldn't feel less than, and would continue to be myself. So it did change me, but it also made me realize that I am super confident about myself, but this was one of those tests to say, how confident are you? Lost all my hair, like all my hair, and that was a plus in some ways during COVID. I didn't have to go get the Brazilian, and I didn't have to worry about my underarms. I was like, yes, I don't have to worry about this. Save some money, girl. And so, now I got to go back. So,
Yeah.
okay. Right.
So your hair is coming back in, and your body is, I want to say, like bouncing back, or has you, aside from the mastectomy, have there been any other changes that you've noticed to your body?
Very little. One of my toenails on the right side actually turned black. I was like, oh my God. It didn't fall off, but it's like, it's still growing out, like almost 2 years later. And I'm like, geez, Louise. And the oncologist would say, this is normal when you go through chemo. And I was like, okay. And then from the drainage, I had lymphedema. That was diagnosed really early, and I was grateful for that. So I went to treatment, and the therapist she was wonderful. She was really, I was lucky to actually have her. And so I know how to treat it. I know how to manually drain if I get too much fluid. And God sent me so many people during this time. Dr. Kang, I will say he's an herbalist. So I started taking his herbs last year. Well, no, not last year, correction. March of this year, I started taking his herbs. And, you know, they're for people who are dealing with cancer, but just people who are dealing with a whole lot of stuff. So that helped me. And then I feel like Dr. Joe was heavenly sent because he is one that has a 40-day challenge, like get your life together in 40 days. It's called the 40-day turn up, right? So, and they're so strict on what you can eat. And, you know, I haven't really eaten like this, but I would say a person who has cancer should eat like this. We have the 80-20 plate, 80% vegetables, 20%, you know, you can have some other things. Cancer loves sugar, cancer loves alcohol, and I'm from New Orleans. And I'm a writer. My glass of wine was like a staple, right? I haven't had a glass of wine in 3 weeks. It's like, oh my gosh. But, you know, I feel like these people have been brought into my life for different reasons. We're all here for a reason. And I think nothing is more important than what you are doing, Emaan, to help women, how you are helping us. I thank you for that, because we can't have enough education. And I hope you don't bleep me out for this one, but I'm so sick of those erectile dysfunction commercials. I could just take them all off the market, right? Because they always talk about what they need to do. But the reality is, like, where's the love for women? Like, right. you are our love for women. You're saving so many women right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And no, I'm not gonna bleep that out, because it's the truth. It is the truth. We need something, right?
Yes. Something that, and someone who cares about us.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, especially coming from you. I mean, I was telling someone today, and it's true. I feel like, you know, sometimes it doesn't always make sense in the moment when God sends us these challenges, or God puts us in these situations, and they seem like the worst possible blessing. Like, what do you mean this is a blessing in disguise? This is not a blessing, but actually, you know, going through your journey or my journey, or what we've been through as women, it leads us to our purpose. And so I really believe that when you said that you're the messenger, and that you feel confident in being that messenger, and that because it's a part of your higher purpose. So I definitely agree. And what would you say, like, going through this experience, what would you say are some of those learnings, or what advice would you give women? I mean, we did a talk with a young lady who was 29, very young. And, you know, something that she had said is that we're so young, we think we're invincible. And that we don't check our own boobs at such a young age. What would you say to maybe older women that have that, you know, should be going and getting their mammograms? Or what are these little nuggets of advice that you wish more women like you knew?
I really feel like, and I'm a touch and go on this plastic surgery again, because I know so many women are doing it right now. I did it myself. Make sure you get checked, because the second doctor didn't even insist on it. The first doctor wouldn't even touch me unless I had one done. And so, you know, when you're getting this done, a lot of women are going to different countries to have it done, other places. Know your status. And I don't care if you're in your 20s or your 30s or your 40s, because it's affecting more women. Another thing that I would say, check your birth control, because a lot of times birth control causes breast cancer, but they don't tell us that. I took birth control pills from the age of 16 all the way up until like 21, when I decided to have a baby. Then I got back on birth control until I was like about 35. So I took birth controls for the pills almost every day, but nobody ever said, well, you know, long-term down the line, you may get breast cancer. They'll tell you about blood clots. they won't tell you about breast cancer,
Right.
because then the pharmaceutical industry won't make money as they would like to from us, from these products. But we just have to self-educate as much as possible as women to look for that extra layer. So I would just tell women, make sure you get your checkups. That's why I love Planned Parenthood. I really love Planned Parenthood, and we need it. And we just need to have that level where women who don't have the financial resources can go. Because some of us, we can just go to the doctor and get a checkup. But for some women, that's easier said than done. Find the organizations who are doing free mammograms. They're out there. If you can't afford it, take the time. Don't feel like you don't need it. Don't ignore anything that's happening, So mine has spread to my lymph nodes. That's why I had stage 1B, not A.
Mm-hmm.
A means it's controlled within, and then B, it has metastasized to another part of your body. So yeah, but they caught that part early, thank God. Right. So just make sure you get checked, and vaginally too. Find out what's going on down there. That's what you talk about more than I do.
All the time. All the time. It's so important. And I often say to women, our reproductive organs, I mean, for breasts, obviously you see them on the outside, but a lot of what's going on with them is on the inside. And the same with our reproductive organs down there. It's like they don't tell you what's going on, and often it might be too late. And so it's super important to go get checked. I mean, here in the Middle East, it's very different. I think in the States, there are those services and those organizations, where here in the Middle East, there's not many. A lot of the healthcare is private healthcare. But recently they launched a van, if you will. It's like a mobile van that screens women and does mammograms on the spot, and you can find them all over the city here in Dubai. And they actually do screenings where, even young women that are not of the age to get a mammogram, or maybe it's not necessary, they'll do the breast exam, they'll ask you the questions, and they'll do a screening for you without having to go through the mammogram. So it's super, super important to find those resources.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. We could have more of that here too.
Yeah, definitely. So I wanted to ask, with regards to, I mean, something that we talk a lot about on our channel is mental health. And I know that the journey through cancer is a tough one, especially physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. Like you said, when you first heard the diagnosis, that's what really hit you. What would you do throughout your journey to cope with the mental and the emotional side of cancer and treatment?
The mental side of it, I'm not a big person on meditation. I started doing Calm. Actually, Kaiser pays for it. I have Kaiser insurance. So sometimes, you have resources and don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. So I use that app sometimes. But I think I would have been better going through it mentally if I could have connected with my friends. But I couldn't. Even my sister came to visit me, and I was like, girl, you got to keep your mask on. And she was like, I'm fine. No. You live in a house with a husband and 2 kids and everybody going to work, and I'm recovering. And so you have to look at your own personal and not let your guard down. So it was very, very hard being alone after that. And, at some point, my son had to go on with his life. So I was literally home alone. And COVID, I think, took a big toll, even more so than cancer. Like COVID and cancer, it was just way too much. There were days where I would just cry. Not a lot of days, but I had days when I was sad, because at one point I remember just crying out loud because I felt like, God, Jesus, how much longer? This was before a vaccine, right? How much is this my life forever? Like, how much longer? We're not meant to be by ourselves. We're just not. And so that was really hard for me. And then just moving forward, being a writer, mentally, I didn't want to write. I have a book right now due to the publisher that was due December of last year, pre-vaccination during COVID. Emaan, I couldn't bring myself to write it. I was just like, I don't feel like writing. I'd sit on the couch. I just like didn't want to do anything. And some days I actually thought like I should get a therapist because what is wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And it's nothing wrong with getting a therapist. I still feel like I need a therapist. Even though I feel like I'm getting back on track, I could benefit from having someone to focus, hone in, listen to, because more often than not, I'm listening to other people's situation.
Right.
So whatever that might be.
you are the therapist most of the time. Personally, I know that. But it's true. I think all of us, like after COVID, regardless of what you went through, it really does weigh heavily. I mean, thank God I started therapy right before COVID hit, but I can't imagine going through what you went through, plus the effects of COVID and how, isolating it was, and continues to be. It's still not the same. And I'm sure that has, long-term lasting effects.
Yes. And I'm sure it will continue, but at least there's more. I do go out to eat. Like I said, I am vaccinated. I got the Johnson & Johnson, there's so much trivia behind that, but yeah, I'm going to take the Johnson & Johnson booster, but that's my personal decision. I'm going to stick with what I started with, because I can't go mixing and matching and this and that and all over the place. Right. I still have to be careful, but I do get out. I just haven't been on the plane since 2019.
It's gonna feel
to go, but it just terrifies me every time I think about all those people who don't want to put on a mask and fighting the poor flight attendants. I'm like,
I know, and the States is something else. I feel like everywhere else in the world, people wear their masks and they're civilized. I don't know about the States. At least here they do.
Well, I think that's wonderful, and I think if we had more uniformity. People fight things that doesn't make any sense to me. They protest things that doesn't make any sense, and things that they should stand up for, like women's rights over here. They just trample all over it. So, I'm all about my girls. So, as many of them as we can help, I think is going to be great.
And I'm like, I still have one more question after this, but we need to schedule a whole second session to talk about your books and what you talk about in your books. Like it's a whole Zoom series. Yes. Or I'm just gonna have to come to Atlanta so we can film it together. But we'll get to that.
That'll be fun.
It's on the list.
Okay.
Before we go, I think for our community that's out there, there are women that are going through similar journeys as you, but there's also people in our community that maybe have loved ones that are going through their own cancer journey, or maybe women that need support, going and getting a mammogram or kind of taking their health into their own hands. What advice would you give to our community on how they can best support a loved one that's going through breast cancer?
That's an excellent question. Because first of all, please understand that women who are dealing with breast cancer need your support. Whether they're a friend, somebody if they post it on social media, you can always drop a DM or something and say, praying for you. Little things mean a lot, but family, if you're available to be there, friends, if you're available to be there, please, you can do all sorts of things. If the person cannot cook for themselves, don't make the big pot of macaroni and cheese. Try to give them something healthy, but at the same time, if you know for a fact that this cancer patient will eat mac and cheese and love it, then take them a smaller portion. Because the one thing that doctor made clear when I was going through chemo and going through the process, watch what she eats, and then give her a little bit more of that, because she's not going to be able to communicate. She's going through a lot. Chemo affects your body in so many ways. Make sure that the person is eating, even if it's like little small portions throughout the day. They'll thank you for it later. They will appreciate you and thank you for helping them in that way. If you feel like you're going through this alone, you can definitely go online and find some of the breast cancer resources. There's so many places that will help you. Some insurances actually cover sending people out. No, we're not sending them, it's COVID, but calling you and checking on you. So don't feel like you have to go it alone, even if you are alone. But if you know somebody who's going through this, please check in on them, and don't be a bully. Do not be a bully about it, you know, because some people are like, you're not supposed to do that. And you're not, so they're already dealing with enough, right? Enough already, right? Just try to be helpful in any way that you can. Rhonda sent me a juicer. She said, this is the top of the line, best juicer. I didn't even know Rhonda, and I've never met Rhonda, but a friend of mine asked her to talk to me because she had been through it. And we talked for like about 2 hours. I don't even think we've spoken since. She's like, what's your address? This is what you need to do. Go to the farmer's market, get fresh as you can. Juice. So, you know, those types of things are important, but we shouldn't juice during chemo, because your body is susceptible to parasites. So you have to be careful. You need your food cooked during chemo. After chemo, it's okay to juice. There's so many little things that you will learn that, I started penning a book. It's not out there. It's called Breast Cancer Saved My Life, because sometimes you're sick and don't know it, and you have other things going on that's killing you. Like my A1C was ridiculously off the chart, but I'm addressing that now because I had to deal with the breast cancer. So.
Right. Like you said, I feel like it's changed you as a person, for the better, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, you've always been amazing, but we all have our little vices. I got mine. That's for sure.
I have more than that, but I won't say with the rest of them.
Yeah. Same. But thank you so much. This was amazing. And I really appreciate you again being vulnerable and sharing your experiences. It's going to help so many women. Sometimes just being able to see yourself in someone else, and to see that, you know, she made it and she's so positive, and you're so positive. You're just so incredible and strong. And I know that it's going to inspire so many women that are out there going through a similar journey. So I really appreciate you, and I love you. And
I love you too.
Yeah, I can't wait to come to Atlanta so we could film some other fun stuff.
Yeah, girls' day out for real.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. You're absolutely beautiful, and I love what you're doing for the world, not just locally, community-wise, internationally. I love you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.